ABC News contributor and op-ed columnist at the Los Angeles Times, Elsie Granderson, and Columbia University cardiologist, Dr. Jennifer Haith, for more on this. Thank you both for being on. Doctor, the team says that Hamlin suffered a cardiac arrest following a hit. I know you're not treating him, so of course this isn't a diagnosis, but can you just explain how something like this happens?
Yeah, so cardiac arrest refers to when the heart actually stops beating. And in those scenarios, we need to start CPR as soon as possible. This is actually different from a heart attack per se. Someone could have a cardiac arrest after a heart attack, but a heart attack is really a blockage in the heart that, leads to lack of blood flow, and then the heart could stop pumping. Cardiac arrest, somebody usually collapses. It's usually due to an arrhythmia, which could be precipitated by a number of things. There has been speculation that the blunt trauma to the chest in this case may have caused that. But again, we don't really know. We don't have enough information as to what led to his cardiac arrest. But when the heart stops pumping, CPR needs to be started as soon as possible.
So could a hit cause something like this? And is it possible that this happened having nothing to do with that hit?
It is possible if he had an underlying cardiac condition that he could have had an arrhythmia or some other cardiac event that led to this cardiac arrest. However, it seemed to be, time-wise related to this trauma. And yes, in very rare instances, there are stories and, scenarios in medicine where a heart can stop beating if the impact is at exactly the right moment in the cardiac cycle to cause an arrhythmia.
And the team now says that he's currently sedated and listed in critical condition. So how serious is this? And is there sort of a critical period of time where you watch for changes in a patient like this?
Yeah, so the amount of time that somebody's down prior to CPR and the length of time CPR is given is very important as it relates to not only cardiac recovery, but we worry a lot about neurologic recovery. So how is the brain? The brain is very sensitive to oxygen delivery. And if CPR is not started right away, or if it is prolonged, then, not enough oxygen gets to the brain, and we worry about neurologic status. So what's happening in hospitals after someone has a cardiac arrest is that usually they're sedated, they're put into a coma, they are intubated with a breathing tube, and they are watched over a period of time for, cardiac recovery, end organ function like the kidneys and the liver. But obviously most important is the brain. So they will be doing different kinds of maneuvers to try to improve brain function. And then if there are signs of brain recovery, eventually the breathing tube comes out and we hope for recovery.
Now, LZ, this happened in the first quarter, and for a while, it wasn't clear whether they resumed the game or not. People were pouring in on Twitter saying, call the game, but that decision took a little while. Ultimately, the NFL did postpone the game. What did you make of that whole period of time and the ultimate decision?
Well, obviously, like a lot of people, I believe it was the right decision to postpone the game. I was wondering why it took so long to reach that conclusion, to be quite honest with you, because it just felt as if as soon as you hear CPR is being performed and the amount of time in which he laid motionless, that you sort of assume that, that the game was going to be postponed. But we have to remember the NFL is a multi-billion-dollar business, and that it has other partners and other considerations it must weigh when we're doing a heavy decision like this. And the other thing too, Diane, is that while it has been more than 50 years, the NFL has dealt with this before. There has been a player who did actually suffer from a heart attack on the field and did die. And the NFL actually went on and played that game. So in a lot of ways, what we saw yesterday was perhaps learning from that lesson in terms of how to handle this situation, and also understanding in hindsight that it's better to postpone the game and deal with the fallout from that going forward than to go on and play the game and have people wondering if you're a heartless league.
LZ, what kind of an impact do you think this incident will have on the league going forward?
Well, it's a reminder, first and foremost, for the entire community. By that, I also mean fans, that these are human beings. And that while they may have superhuman strength and speed and are able to do incredible things on the field, that doesn't mean that they have been removed from their humanity. And so hopefully just the community in terms of the NFL specifically, but sports in general, just kind of keep that in mind going forward, particularly as we have football championship game coming up on Monday, for instance, and perhaps your team doesn't win and you want to say negative things. But in terms of actual procedures, without actually being in the rooms with those conversations, I think how the NFL handled the situation was about as well as anyone could expect. You don't expect a 24-year-old to have a heart attack on the field. And so, of course, it's going to be difficult to navigate what exactly to do. And I felt the NFL did a very good job of getting the information, much information that was needed, not oversharing to infiltrate the privacy of the family, but also just sort of letting people know that they were in control and they were concerned about his health.
Yeah, they sure were. And I just want to clarify, cardiac arrest, not heart attack. But
Yes.
Dr. Haith, I want to go back to something that you said, and I want to ask you, how crucial do you think it is that he received medical attention so quickly? And what happens if this kind of thing happens in a scenario where you don't have this team of experienced medics right there on the sideline ready to go?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we know that for every minute that CPR is not administered, the chance of survival drops by about 10%. So this is why there are so many campaigns to do hands-only CPR. So I think many people were afraid to do CPR if they weren't properly trained, especially as it relates to mouth-to-mouth. But now the guidelines have really changed, and we recommend hands-only CPR, which is simple. Anyone can do it. And the idea is that you want to start CPR as soon as possible to continue the flow of blood that still has oxygen in it to the brain. And if with good, hard CPR, with people that are trained, with the correct number of beats a minute, about 100 to 110, you can maintain perfusion to the brain quite well and wait for help to arrive. Obviously, the most important things are to call 911 and to start CPR. In this case, they were surrounded by a lot of medical personnel. We would hope that CPR was started soon.
All right, Dr. Haith, Elsie Granderson, thank you both. And of course, we with so many others pulling for Damar Hamlin's recovery.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.